Julie, I'm gonna try if I can figure it out, make you co-host on this.
Okay.
Does anybody know how to do that in Zoom?
Chris, I think you had to do it when you set up,
Oh,
but you didn't have any problems seeing when I pulled up the intranet site, correct?
correct. Just if I make you co-host, if you needed to, you could mute people. That's the. Don't know if I can do it.
And maybe that's your lead in, is to remind people to just make sure they're on
Yeah,
mute.
they come in muted, but it's like we had a few people that, hit the unmute and it got a little disruptive, but. I'm learning Zoom.
You're doing just fine. Chris, I'm going to step away for a couple of minutes.
Okay. We'll get started in about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to wait a couple more minutes. I know I had more people that accepted this meeting, and give more people a chance to come in. So Superintendent Elder, I believe he's here. I'd like to just go ahead and get started. People will join as we're going, but I don't want to hold people up at the end of the day. So I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Elder for a welcome.
Great, thank you, Chris. I'll be brief because I know it's a pretty fast-paced presentation and people will have questions. I just want to say thank you to all of you for stepping up to do this. We need to find ways to keep our employees at work. The state has come up with this plan. It has its pluses and minuses, but the biggest plus is it allows us to keep people at work and working. So it behooves us to understand it and to utilize it to the best of our ability. I'll talk a little bit at the end probably, but just so you know, there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be issues that come up. Just do your best. That's all we can ask. We've heard some stories in other districts of sometimes PMG will show up and not have the test or not have enough tests. All we can do is the best we can do and make good decisions moving forward. So thanks for being here today. Thanks for listening. And in case we hit 4 o'clock and you're all bailing out, have a happy Thanksgiving. And Chris, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. So I'm going to ask Julie to monitor the chat as we go through this. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll take questions at the end. So the COVID testing programs for APS, and this is you as a supervisor, what your responsibilities are in this program. And this is being recorded, so you will have access to the recording, and others that weren't able to make it can also access the recording. So what is the purpose? Why bother testing? So quickly to be able to identify and isolate those who are affected with COVID-19, help facilitate safe in-person learning, and keep close contacts in school or at work while managing the risk of the spread of COVID-19. So there's 2 programs. One of them you're probably already familiar with, and that's surveillance testing. All employees that are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated must participate in weekly surveillance testing. That's not going away, that continues. And then the new one is the test to stay, or what's called a modified quarantine program. And I'm going to talk to you about both of these programs. Surveillance
Hey, Chris,
tests. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are you able to put your cursor over the converting meeting recording and move it away from your screen?
Is it away now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was in front of it and showing. Okay, thank you for letting me know that. So it's required for unvaccinated or partially vaccinated employees, which I already said. There are 3 options that employees have. They can go to Premier Medical Group on-site testing, which is at Bonifacio. They can do Vault at-home testing or curative DOH testing. It is recommended for unvaccinated or partially vaccinated students, but it is required for employees. And it is weekly testing. So that's important to know that it happens every week. You as a supervisor, if you have unvaccinated, partially vaccinated employees, you are to be holding them accountable for ensuring that they do their weekly testing and get you their results. Employees at school sites can be tested by PMG if it's available at that school site to do it. And we're starting school site surveillance testing the week of December 6th. So that will get started that week. So if you have staff that are actually on that school site, they can test right there if they're registered with PMG. But employees, in order to use PMG, must opt in, must fill out their registration form. So employees have, again, the 3 options, and I went through those. Fully vaccinated employees are eligible to become exempt from required weekly testing. So they have to provide proof of vaccination. You're going to be seeing something coming up probably in the next month or so, where before you all just filled out a form that said, this is when I had my first shot and when I had my second shot. There's new regs coming down from OSHA, and we're going to have to show proof of vaccination. So something will be happening in the next month or two to collect proof of vaccinations. And also, if someone has tested positive, for 90 days, they are exempted from surveillance testing. And the reason for that is within 90 days, you will test positive if you had COVID. So you'll just show up positive because you have the antibodies in your system. Here's the biggie, Test to Stay. It's the new program. Woohoo! We're all excited about it. It is required to participate in this program. It's in both public health order and PED rule. So we as a district and as schools must participate in Test to Stay. What does it do? It allows asymptomatic, so people without symptoms who are unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, students and staff who have been identified as a close contact in the school or district setting. Let me say that again, in the school or district setting. So if I'm identified as a close contact because I had Thanksgiving meal with my family and someone in my family tested positive, I am not eligible for this program. If I'm at work and someone at work that I'm a close contact with tests positive, I'm now eligible for this program. And as an employee, if I'm unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, I must participate in this program. Students, parents have to opt them in. Staff are required to participate. So again, the eligibility, Test to Stay, you have to have been exposed at work for employees, whether that's a school setting or district setting. And you should be unvaccinated or partially vaccinated. So you would be quarantined otherwise. So if I'm a close contact and I have to quarantine, I now participate in this. Parents and guardians and employees must register with Premier Medical Group to participate. So employees that are identified as close contacts and have to quarantine, they're going to have to register with PMG. So they'll have to do that. It's not hard, it's a simple registration process. We have a protocol document that you all have access to, and it has all of that information in it, how to register, what to do, those types of things. When they register with PMG, they'll be registered for both surveillance testing and the Test to Stay. So if they ever want to do the surveillance testing with PMG, it's only a one-time registration. You don't have to register a bunch of times. So when the supervisor has a COVID-19 positive case in your department, your unit, whatever it is, you follow that rapid response checklist and you identify close contacts. It's that list of close contacts that's used for the Test to Stay program. So employees will be given a letter, and that's in the protocol document. So there's a letter already in there that you would send to your employee that says, you've been identified as a close contact. You have to participate in the test to stay. This is what you need to do. Then the supervisor goes to this website. It's an intranet site that we have set up, and I think I can bring it up this time. And there's a couple things you're going to do in there. About 2/3 the way down, it's got some information about testing. 2/3 of the way down, it also has information on how to register with PMG. It has a section that says for points of contacts and supervisors only. So on that page, 2/3 down, you're going to go down there and you're going to download a couple of things. So you scroll down, you get to there, and then you download a template that says test to stay upload template. Now,
Chris, we
this is,
can't see it yet until you,
I know, I'm still on
Okay.
the, I'm just pointing to it on the,
gotcha.
on here. So I'll get to it. I have to stop sharing and I'll get to it. And then you fill that out. It's a spreadsheet basically. And then there's also a form that's a Google form that you click on, you fill that out and you upload that template into the form and hit submit. So I'm going to show you that. So here it is. This is the web page. And I'm going to put it in the chat for you so you have it. So it says test to stay at the top. It's an intranet site. So you sign into the intranet, you scroll down. This has got information about the programs in here. This is the QR code for Premier Medical Group so they can sign up. Then you'll see these forms. So the test to stay request form is here. And it's a Google form. So you fill this out. Don't hit submit yet. It's got every site in APS on it. So you find your site. It's pretty simple. You give your answers to these questions and then you add a file. So the file that you're adding is this upload template. And I did download it so I can share it with you. It's a pretty simple template. If you've ever had to do the PED report, and I know many of you haven't had to do that, you've seen something that looks like this. It's a spreadsheet. It's got the role, the first name, last name, date of birth. This is your points of your close contacts. You put every close contact. So if Chris Muir is COVID positive, and I just happened to be in Randy's office for a long time, he's now a close contact, I would enter him in here. My supervisor, Yvonne, would get to enter him in here because she's my supervisor. And she would enter him in here. She would find out if Randy's vaccinated or not. If Randy's vaccinated, she's going to enter the name in red font. If Randy's not vaccinated, it just stays in black font. If his name's in red font, that means he's exempted from the test to stay program. He doesn't have to quarantine. If he's unvaccinated, he has to participate in test to stay. So you fill this out, you save it, and then you upload this into that upload. So you would upload it on that form where it says upload, you upload that in there. When you hit submit, that document goes to Premier Medical Group. It goes to PMG. So they're going to know who is now required to test to stay that has been identified as a close contact. everybody you put on that form that is not in red is required to test to stay on days 1, 3, and 5 of their quarantine. So let me go back to the PowerPoint now. Who is it? So you've done all that, you've hit submit. Now what? So PMG gets that form and they will know who they're supposed to test. The employee must go to Bonifacio for their test. If the employee that you have, and I know there's some of you that have employees that are at school sites, and if they're part of the close contact at the school site, PMG will be at the school site to test them. But if your employee is not at a school site regularly, they will have to test at Bonifacio, and it will be part of the test to stay. Now, this is different than the surveillance testing. It's a rapid response antigen test. The surveillance testing is a PCR test. So the rapid response means you get the results within about 10 minutes. So they test there, they'll get their results. PMG will send their results to them, and we have a new email address. Write this down: T2S@aps.edu. This is for PMG's use to send the district the results, also for PMG's and your use for questions that you might have as you work through this. I understand that with district employees and supervisors, it could be quite a while before you actually have a positive case and you have to start thinking about this and you're going to go, what am I supposed to do again? So the protocols will all be there on that website. Is you can download the protocol, you can download the rapid response forms for how to report a positive case, and you can download all of the information that we're talking about here. And this PowerPoint will also be there for you to download if you want to look at it. So
Are we supposed
PMG
to
is going to email
spreadsheet?
the employee and our email. The employee must send you their results, just like they would their surveillance testing results. They have to send you, here's my results. They can just forward you PMG's email. And if they're negative, they come to work. If they're positive, they go home. And they're now considered a COVID positive and they must isolate for 10 days and you treat it as a positive. Now remember, this is a rapid response test. So if they test with a PCR test, which they could do at Bonifacio right there and then, and they get those results back, which takes about a day to get back, and it's negative, they can come back to work. But if they don't PCR test, and you have to go by what the rapid response test says. But because they're at Bonifacio, they could test right away. Yes.
Chris, we're still looking at the close contact upload template.
You are?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can get it back. See, I can't tell by looking at my screen what you're looking at. Okay, are you looking at the PowerPoint now?
You got it. You got it
Okay.
back up.
Thank you. So I haven't changed slides. So this was the one I was talking off of. So they can do their second test right there at Bonifacio because they will have the rapid response there too. I mean, the PCR test. So they could do that there and test negative and come back to work. But they're still in the test to stay program. So they have to test at days 1, 3, and 5 of what would have been their quarantine. And if it's a positive test, they go home. If it's a negative test, they come to work. So here it is. If the test is negative, go to work. If it's positive, they go home. And if it's positive, you start close contact tracing off of that employee. So you go through the rapid response for any positive. So when there is a delay, let's say, and this happens, it's happened quite often, that you find out that you have an employee that tested positive, but you weren't notified till 3 days later of the positive test. You still do the close contact tracing, even though the quarantine started at the day that the employee, that was day 0 of the quarantine. The test to stay program will start, day 1 of the test to stay will start on the day that you notified them that they would need to quarantine or test to stay. So, and they may not go through the whole 1, 3, and 5 because it may be that they only have 2 days left of their 10-day quarantine. But you just start the sequence later. If the employee is not here, they call in for that day, they're on annual leave, whatever it is, the day that they're supposed to test, they test the next day that they come back. So let's say they miss day 3 because they're on annual leave. Well, then the next day they come back counts as their day 3 of testing. Failure to test. If they're here and they do not test and they don't send you their results, they are sent home. And they must get a PCR test. And so you have to send them home if they refuse to test. If the participant is experiencing any COVID symptoms, so are you getting a green screen now? Or are you seeing is everybody seeing the PowerPoint?
We're still on your PowerPoint.
Okay, all right. So, so if they start showing symptoms, the modified quarantine is terminated immediately and they have to go home and they need to take a PCR test. And a negative PCR test would bring them back. So fully vaccinated individuals, or those that have been infected with COVID and if they're still within that 90-day period, they do not quarantine, so they do not participate in test to stay. Close contacts of employees and the close contacts should monitor themselves for symptoms. They should still be filling out that health screen, so they should be monitoring for symptoms before they come to work. They must remain asymptomatic to continue to come to work, and they should be aware of the process, which the letter will give them that awareness, and that's in the protocol. So attachment B is the letter for employees in the protocol document. And I'm going to stop here and start taking questions. So this is the rapid response team for APS and the test to stay email for any questions around the testing programs. So
Chris,
Julie,
you have one question in the chat. We've had several teachers contract COVID-19, all of whom were fully vaccinated. Unvaccinated teachers want to know why the vaccinated teachers don't have to test if they can still get and spread the virus to others.
that's a question for CDC and the Department of Health. We follow the public health order. And that's still part of public health order, that if you're fully vaccinated, you do not have to do surveillance testing. Other questions? And if you want to, it is a small enough group, you can put them in the chat, or you can unmute and ask.
Chris, just to verify, fully vaccinated is still just the 2 doses of Pfizer vaccine, not the 3rd booster?
Yes, fully
Okay.
vaccinated is still the 2 doses of Pfizer and Moderna and 14 days out, or the 1 dose of Johnson and Johnson. It is still highly recommended that that the 3rd dose happen, but it's not qualifying for being fully vaccinated. You don't have to have the 3rd dose to be considered fully vaccinated.
Got it. Thank you.
You guys are, we had thousands of questions with the principal.
Chris, I did see one question about what happens if somebody tests positive on their day 1 or 3 test. Do they still have to test on 3 or 5? That would be no. If you test positive, you're gonna go into your isolation period from that point, and you should not test again for the 90 days per the CDC recommendation. And that's just because we know that you can shed dead virus for that period of time and then get a false positive, and we don't want you to have to re-isolate.
Thank you, Maya. Maya is with Premier Medical Group, and we had a couple of things that came up. So when this is over, can you just stay for a minute? That came up in the principal meeting that I need to let you know about with your registration forms and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, guys, I had some technical difficulties.
So PMG is here with us. So if you have any questions specifically for PMG, she can answer them too. And yes, the PowerPoint will be put into a PDF and put on the intranet with the rest of the documents that are there. And there will be 2 PowerPoints there, one that was done for the points of contact and this one that's done for you. The point of contact one probably won't help you a lot, so this is one you want to watch. Plus the recording will also be there. So if you want to re-listen to the recording or share that recording with others that were unable to come, it will also be there. Oh, Superintendent Elder, this group's easier.
Yeah, they're not quite as active as the last group, but that's okay. It's the end of the week. Mike Brasher's intently paying attention. That's all that really matters.
Well, and we haven't had as many positive cases at the district level. So, and I know I truly understand this, and so does Julie, that when you get a positive case, it may have been your first time or it's been a while. So feel free to reach out to us so that we can help you through those processes and what to do with it. So don't hesitate to do that. When you get a positive case, you still send that email to nursingservices@aps.edu and you'll get a auto reply with a form that you fill out on the positive case. You still do the reporting to PED and we do the reporting to OSHA. Other questions, comments, fears? I'll turn it over to Superintendent Elder to do a closing.
You guys made this very easy. I don't know. You must be like in a hurry to get out of the office or something. I don't know, but not fast to tell. She's going to work till 5:30. Come in early tomorrow. So like I said, I really appreciate you guys coming and doing this. I really appreciate you listening. Like I told you, what we've heard from other districts is it's not perfect. There will be hiccups. There will be problems. Don't hold yourself responsible for other people's issues. Don't try to solve every problem in the world. And I had to tell the principals, they're so used to just solving problems for kids and coming up with solutions. I said, you guys need to breathe. This is a complex statewide program being rolled out in incredibly rapid pace, and it's just gonna have problems, and they're kidding themselves when they act like it isn't. So give yourself the grace to deal with the issues. And if something happens and somebody doesn't get tested or you don't know an answer, it's okay. ask someone, get the answer. If someone couldn't test one day, have them test the next day. That's just the best you can do. So thank you. I probably will not see you before the holidays, so I wish you a great holiday. And again, thank you for attending today.
Thank you all and happy Thanksgiving. And I'm very thankful for all of you. So test to stay at aps.edu. Ingrain it, put it in your contact list.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.